I'm here once again with the program creator, Tommy Tallarico, and you really enjoyed the sounds of video games from way back in the 70s, just the sounds.
Yeah, you know, when I was 10 years old, I used to take my dad's big cassette recorder and I would go down to the local arcades and record all my favorite video game music. And then I would take it home and record all my favorite game music at home on my Intellivision or my Atari. And I would take the tapes and I'd splice them together. And I would invite all the neighborhood kids over. And I would jump up in front of my television set. I would charge them a nickel, by the way. And I would jump up in front of my television and put my favorite video games on TV and play back the cassette that I made. And I would pretend, I'd bring a guitar and I'd pretend to play along with the music. So I guess those were considered the first video games live performances way back when.
It seems exactly like what you're doing
the
on
late
stage.
70s. Yeah, it's come full circle now, and you kind of, I guess you know, when you think about something so much, it manifests itself eventually.
Looks like you're having a great time up there with your guitar, interacting with the audience, interacting with the musicians. There's a part in the program where the cellist is actually playing as if it's a guitar. Was that spontaneous?
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things where I always say to the symphony before we play, because a lot of times we play with these very prestigious and honorable symphonies, and a lot of times again a lot of symphony performances are very very highbrow and but everybody's in tuxedos and let's not put our hair down. And I saw this one guy, and he's got like a ponytail, and he's like, oh, this is an old hippie. I know if I come up with him with my Spider-Man Les Paul, and I start, I want to get this guy out of his chair going. And he went for it. It was fantastic. He pulls his hair out, and he's got the long hair, and we're headbanging with each other and stuff. So yeah, I mean, I always tell the symphony, I say, look, video games are fun. We like to have fun. We don't take ourselves so seriously on stage. We just want to have fun, and I want everybody here to have fun. And if you feel like bobbing your head, or if you feel like getting up out of your chair, go for it. Go for it, absolutely. You don't have to sit there and be afraid, because the reality is that symphonic orchestral musicians, they're just like any other musician in the world. They will feed off the energy of the audience. If the audience is, and in our show, the audience is out of their chair and yelling and screaming, I want them to not only enjoy that and feel like, rock stars themselves, but I want them to really give back to that as well, and give back that same energy. People in the symphony will always come up to me at the end of the show and go, I've been playing oboe for 40 years, and I have never heard an audience like this. I feel like I'm one of the Beatles right now, or Elvis Presley. Screaming, cheering, clapping for symphonic music. This has never happened in the history of the planet. Even in the time of Beethoven and Mozart, it was still a very, classical, it was for old rich people, and so we want to make it for everyone. We want to make symphonic experiences for everybody, for the whole family.
It just goes to show you, though, with those moments of spontaneity, that anything like that could happen during a live concert.
That's right.
These musicians.
Absolutely, and so much talent, so much talent going on there, and to see somebody just kind of get up out of their chair and just literally let their hair down. That's a special moment, and at one point the choir starts swaying back and forth, and then when the audience sees that, the audience starts doing it, and it really is something that's fantastic to see, and to see the family, see families together at a symphony show is something that's kind of unique, and something that we're very proud of, that we've been able to accomplish over the last 7 or 8 years of touring on the road. Because I got to tell you, when I first started this, people thought we were insane. People thought we were crazy. Like, who would go? Old people don't play video games. People who go to a symphony don't play video games, and kids don't go see a symphony. So what are you doing, But the reality is that the average person who plays a video game is 35 years old. So again, us who grew up on it, it's not just for young kids. And this music is not just for video gamers. It is legitimate Grammy Award-winning music, you know?
Yeah, it's amazing how the music has evolved. I can think of the first few bars of Pac-Man. That's pretty much all there was to the music.
Can you hum it to me? There you go. I bet you've never done that before. On air.
That's Ms. Pac-Man.
That's Miss Pac-Man. So, he's good. He's good.
But Pac-Man is.
Right, and then the act one where it's, you know, then they would go.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
We're all over it. It's crazy. We're out of control here.
But it's evolved from these first little bars of Pac-Man to this symphonic music. What does that say about video games in general, that the music is becoming more sophisticated?
Yeah, well, you know, I think that, you know, video games have evolved as an art form, as a culture, and so too, you know, has the music. And really, you know, if more people are listening, if you think about it, more people are listening to video game music than any other kind of music. You say, well, how's that possible? Think of all the, you know, hundreds of millions, billions of people who are playing video games every day, right? In countries all over the world, because this isn't something that's just, you know, that's just popular in North America. You know, in Asia, China, Korea, I mean, they have professional video game television networks that just, you know, Japan, of course, and Australia, all over Europe. Wherever we go, we've toured all over, you know, in many different continents and countries all over the world, and it's always the same response. So, you know, I think that, you know, that says a lot about, you know, how popular this is. And this music is being played, it's not like an album where you put it in your car, or you listen to it once or twice, or a movie score where maybe you've seen the movie a few times a year. This is, people are playing a game like World of Warcraft, people are playing 20, 30, 40 hours a week sometimes. And this music is getting constantly pounded in your head, pounded in your brain. And you know, so it is something that's become so powerful to the people who play the games. It really becomes a part of their life, this music.
Yeah, how would you compare and contrast movie music to video game music?
It's a great question. There's many differences. As film composers, they have linear medium. So even the great John Williams has to sit down with George Lucas, and George says to him, okay, John, at 1 minute and 32 seconds, the music has to do this because Darth Vader just walked through the door. And at 2 minutes, it has to do this because the Death Star just blew up, right? Whereas in video games, a designer will come to me and say, okay, we got 200 guys on horseback all coming to attack you, write me a 3-minute piece of music. My barriers, I can just dream up what this is in my head, and I don't have to worry about hitting a certain thing at a certain time, so we can really go to town. But also, maybe there's 200 guys at first, and then there's down to 100 guys, or 20 guys, and 10 guys, and 1 person, and then none. What I will do as a game composer is I'll write this 3-minute piece of music with everyone attacking, and I'll have the strings playing 30-second notes, and we'll have, you know, taiko drums all pounding, and maybe a full-on, you know, men's and women choir going at it. But then I can take the same piece of music and orchestrate it in 4 or 5 different intensity levels, right? So then maybe instead of all the taiko drums, maybe there's percussion's a little, you know, maybe it's just timpanis now. Maybe instead of those 30-second notes, they're playing 16th notes or maybe 8th notes. And so it's the same piece of music, but not played as intense. And we record those different things. And then I'll sit down with a game programmer and say, okay, when there's 100 guys on screen, play this version. And then when there's less people, we're going to crossfade into the new arrangement. So the intensity level, so the music is now interacting with what the character is doing and the player is doing with the character. And so it's all of that is changing. Another big difference is that, again, movies are mostly about dialogue and telling a story. So there's a lot of talking. They call movie music incidental music or background music. I call video game music foreground music because we're the ones we have to give that emotion and that energy to the player, boom, right from bar one, So we're psychologically getting them in the mood either for a battle, or is it mysterious, or they have to search around for a key. We're in control of that, and that's a beautiful thing.